The Janssen Law Center, representing Illinois injury victims for over 40 years.
Well, we're here again for another segment of the Ask Jay Janssen show. You know, we try to promote safety as a byproduct of litigation. Safety is number one, and today we're going to talk about products liability. Defective products that have caused harm to people throughout the history of the United States. We'll talk about some of the defective drugs that have been produced, talk about defective products that have been produced, talk about products that could be improved by virtue of litigation. So let's talk about products liability today and the law. Now, do I have some questions out here from the audience? All right, yes ma'am. Tell me your question.
Can you give me an example of a defective product case that you've already tried?
All right, you're asking for one that's actually been tried here in the state of Illinois, and I do recall one years ago that is basically the primer case for students in law school to study. A lady went to a laundromat, and it was a commercial laundromat, and they had Borg-Warner washers and dryers. Now, Borg-Warner Corporation is a multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporation. And she put her clothes in the washing machine, and on the wall, there was a sign, if the machine shuts off, rebalance the load, and then it'll start again. And she did exactly what the situation, the machine shut off, there was a pause, but it was in between cycles, and the machine took off, dislocated her arm, tore the arm out of the socket. Well, we sued the Borg-Warner Corporation over 40 years ago, and we allege that it was a defective product. When you lift the lid on that washing machine, that machine should have a shutoff. How did I do this? With this particular case, and it was one of the early cases where we said, here, a product that's sold all over the world is a defective product because somebody could be injured, and it's so easy to put a shut-off switch on that lid. Well, we used an engineer, retired engineer from Caterpillar, and he testified. He said, you can put a shut-off switch on that lid when you open the lid to the washing machine for 75 cents. So we not only told them their product was defective, we told them how to fix the product. So that's why it's a case that's been followed by law schools, law students all over the country. That case went up on appeal to the 3rd District Appellate Court in the state of Illinois. Why did it go up on appeal? Why wouldn't Borg-Warner say, yeah, let's just put a switch on? They fight to say their product's safe when it isn't. But that case brought about switches on lids to washing machines all over the world. And that was a case well over 40 years ago that I tried right here in the state of Illinois. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How about another question? We got something over here. Come over and see me. All right. What's your question?
Have you ever had a trial regarding a dangerous drug?
Yes, I have. You know, you see a lot of advertisements on TV about drugs. Fact is, drug companies probably are spending more money than anybody else, even the automobile companies, advertising their product. So many times these drugs have gone, or not many times, all the time, these drugs have gone through rigorous trials, and they're approved by the FDA. So if it's approved by the FDA, we as the public think that they're safe. But we find out in hindsight, many times there's a lot of problems that accompany these drugs. Now, a case that I tried with a brilliant lawyer in my office, Patrick O'Shaughnessy, many years ago, involved a simple drug for hay fever. It's called Hismanol. You take, you know, and you fall, spring sometimes, you get a runny nose, you get a sneeze. So you get a pill called Hismanol. It was one of the largest selling drugs in the United States. But it had an interaction with another drug. And we had a woman in southern Illinois that took the Hismanol pill for hay fever, but she was on another pill called erythromycin. Erythromycin, by the way, at that time was the most widely prescribed drug in the entire country. So you had a combination of two drugs. Well, what happened? The Hismanol could not be absorbed into the system because of the erythromycin, and it stopped this woman's heart, and she died. Now, I'm a lawyer in Illinois suing one of the largest corporations in the world, Johnson & Johnson, Janssen Pharmaceutica, that put out this product. They're making billions of dollars on this product. It's so widely used. You've heard of Claritin today. Well, Claritin sells so well because there's no Hismanol. We tried the case in court, and we used state court on this case. Many times I go to federal court. We used state court in this case, and we got a verdict against Johnson & Johnson and Janssen Pharmaceutica. That drug was removed from the market, and I think today, how many lives were saved because of that drug being off the market? They didn't have a black box warning on it that it could kill you, you know? You know what they say? You know, they say, you know, you could have nausea, you could have vomiting, you could have, in rare cases, there may be a death. Well, that's sort of a way of saying somebody else may die. We all think it doesn't happen to us. But I think back on that case, whatever money that I obtained for that family and for that husband and her children, that's a small part of what was done. We stopped a dangerous drug from being sold in the United States that was making billions of dollars, and they fought us with attorneys from New York and Chicago. They came in with truckloads of evidence, and they had their testimony. We won the case. The drug's off the market. How many lives did we save? You know, I'm proud of that one.
Thank you.
All right. We got any other questions on products liability? Products liability. Anybody else? Okay, I got one way over there.
What cases and product liability is your office currently working on?
All right. I go to meetings, and I'm on committees with the American Trial Lawyers of America, American Association of Justice, $1 Million Forum. We meet and we talk about products that are causing harm to people in the United States at the present time. One of the cases that I think is a dangerous product that you buy and you don't think anything of it because you think it's so innocent. Baby powder, Johnson & Johnson baby powder. Johnson & Johnson baby powder is a mined substance. It's been proven to have asbestos in it. It is shipped to Johnson & Johnson from the mines in large containers, large barrels. And those barrels contain a warning that say, this product is a carcinogen. It'll cause cancer. Johnson & Johnson takes the powder out of these large barrels, puts them in these innocuous little bottles, pink and white, that sprinkle on every baby. It's a carcinogen. There have been billion-dollar verdicts now rendered, and there's no class action. We're taking these cases one at a time to trial. I have an office full of cases that we're bringing to trial. I have people from Milwaukee, from Chicago, from Iowa, from Indiana, that we've taken these cases, and we're going to take and pursue these cases because they are a carcinogen that has a propensity to cause ovarian cancer in women. You can breathe the substance and even have problems with mesothelioma. So that's one product we're trying to take off the market. Another one is Roundup. You know about the metal hips and metal knees. There's so many of these products out there that you think would not cause any harm to you at all, but they do. You know, we had over 600 breast implant cases, and we're still paying out on those, but that went into a class action. But Johnson & Johnson is fighting us every case. We're trying them one after another, and there's billions of dollars of verdicts against Johnson & Johnson right now, and we're going to have some of those trials in Central Illinois. So let's take a break for a minute or two, and then I'll be back, and let's talk about some other products liability claims.
Jay Janssen takes on big pharmaceutical, insurance, automotive, and Fortune 100 companies. Some cases have resulted in changes in the law and greater product safety. There is never a fee to discuss your case at the Janssen Law Center.
We're back on the Jay Janssen Show. We have an enthusiastic audience here today, and they do have a lot of questions. Today, the subject is products liability. So let me turn around and see who's available for, well, here's a gentleman over here. Come on over.
If the FDA approves a drug for sale in the United States, is that drug safe from a lawsuit?
All right. When a drug is manufactured, it goes through trials, and many times they use 1,000 people, 2,000 people to take the drug, and then they use another 1,000 or 2,000 people with a placebo. They give them a sugar pill. And that's the way that they test whether or not there may be side effects or whether the drug does any good at all, because a lot of drugs are never approved because they don't do any good in the first place. Well, the FDA approves drugs, and then they go on the market. Once these drugs are on the market, we find out, with hindsight, a lot of problems, you know. And if a drug has been approved by the FDA, can we sue the manufacturer of that drug just because it has harmful side effects? Let me tell you about a case. And this is one of the premier cases that affect the public in the United States of America, decided by the Supreme Court of the United States. It's called Levine versus Wyeth Labs. Mrs. Levine was a fine guitar player. She had nausea, and simple situation, she goes in and sees her doctor about the nausea. And the doctor gives her Phenergan. Now, Phenergan's been around for 50 years. Not really much in side effects. A lot of people take it when they go on a cruise, you know, to sort of settle their stomach. But they did an IV push, which is a injection into the vein, and it gets a little better result that way. But the technician that did the IV push put the injection into an artery. Caused gangrene, the woman lost her arm. All right. So the issue was, this drug's approved by the FDA. Wyeth fought this case all the way to the Supreme Court. Case was tried, case was won, case went up to the Federal Court of Appeals, then goes to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court of the United States, in a 6-3 decision, fairly close, you know, 9 judges, 6-3, affirmed the fact that an individual can bring a cause of action even though there is FDA approval. So that applies to the manufacturer of automobiles. You know, an automobile is certified and deemed a good product by government agencies. Almost everything that's manufactured, the government has its hand in. But just because the government says it's okay doesn't mean it's okay. And that Levine versus Wyeth Labs is the biggest significant case with regard to consumer safety. Boy, great question. Thank you very much. Anybody else have anything on? Okay, we've got one way over there. All right.
So what if I can't afford to sue a Fortune 500 company over a dangerous product?
Well, when you sue a big corporation, they have huge resources, huge money to fight you. I think one of the things in selecting an attorney on a tough case, you have to have an attorney that's well financed. You can't finance litigation like we're talking about out of your pocket. It takes hundreds of thousands of dollars and years and years and years to litigate these cases against big companies. And the lawyer is allowed to advance the money. And we have to believe in the case or we wouldn't take it, because we may work on a case 3, 4 years, 5 years before we get a final result. It may go through the whole appeal process. But we have one advantage. We have first choice. We don't take a case unless we believe we're going to win that case. And we know when we take a case against a Fortune 500 company that they're going to say to us, there's nothing wrong with our product. They are selling millions and billions of dollars of that product. They don't want that product modified or taken off the market. So we know we've got a battle on our hands, and it's going to take years to get that resolved. But the law office that's well financed, that can advance the money to bring these cases against these large corporations, and we love to take a case that has been lost by somebody else and see if we can't turn it around, or a case that's been turned down. Now, a lot of our cases at the Janssen Law Center come from other lawyers. They send us a case and they say, Jay, do you think you can do something here? There's an injustice. And the byproduct of all this, of bringing these actions on defective products, is safety. Because once they find out it's easier to fix the product than fight in the courts, safety is the byproduct, and we as consumers are all the winners. Let me tell you about another case, and it sort of rings true here in central Illinois. It was against Caterpillar Tractor Company years ago. They've got an end loader with a great big bucket that comes up, and that bucket is held in place by some levers up on the side of the bucket. And they just had levers on one side of the bucket. Well, after a period of use, over a period of time, no lever on this side, lever on this side, you're going to get what's called knurling or case hardening. I had a man years ago, worker, construction worker. He walks under the bucket and the bucket comes down. He's crushed. Horrible situation. I brought in an engineer, retired from Caterpillar, who said, if I testify, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my pension. I said, you got to do what's right. He said, you need a control on both sides so it's even, so you don't have knurling. Now all Caterpillar buckets have that shut off on both sides. Have we saved some lives? Maybe. But that's the byproduct of whatever I recovered for that man's family is a small portion of what we've done for every workman out there working under these buckets that are up in the air. So, good question. These are all battles, but the Janssen Law Center takes on these tough cases. Thank you.
Hi. I've noticed that a lot of commercials in regards to drugs and device injuries come from out-of-state lawyers, and personally, I wanted to know why that was the case.
Well, you see advertisements sometimes for mesothelioma. If you stay up late at night, and it's a 1-800 number. We take mesothelioma cases in our office here in Peoria, Illinois. Meso cases are now part of a class type action, just like the breast implant cases. We had 600 of those. Those became a class action. But there's a fund set up on the meso cases where asbestos gets in your lung, causes mesothelioma. It's an injury-specific situation, generally ends in death fairly quickly. And these lawyers from out of state, the venue's here because these people are injured here and they die here. And these out-of-state lawyers, we think many times, try to take these cases to get them settled easily without really working. The Janssen Law Center takes their cases to trial. We get verdicts, we get judgments, and we change the law, and we change the safety environment that exists in this country. Thank you. Okay, we're going to take a break. I'll be right back, and we'll talk some more about products liability. Thank you. The use of baby powder and talcum powder shower to shower causes an increased risk of ovarian cancer. Over $120 million in verdicts have been rendered recently concerning the use of these products. Call the Janssen Law Center now concerning your claim.
Jay Janssen. One name says it all.
We're back and we're talking about products liability, public safety, consumer awareness of what's out there. We have to be careful about what drugs we take. What are the side effects? Read the package insert that comes with that drug. That's one of the things that I think is a fairly recent thing because before, those package inserts went only to the doctor. Now, the general public has those package inserts, and you can read and you know a little bit about the side effects on particular drugs. Now, let's talk about products liability. Who else has a question? Yes, sir. Come on.
What type of defense does a drug company put up in a product injury case?
They put up what's called a scorched earth defense. They've got millions and billions of dollars at stake, and they're going to fight you. There's no offer in these cases. You don't write a letter and they write out a check. They're going to defend their product. Just think of the tobacco companies. How many years were cigarettes sold where the tobacco companies denied that they caused any kind of medical condition? Nothing. Finally, the federal government, they weren't controlled by the FDA because they're not a drug, purportedly, but finally, they were made to put a warning on the cigarette pack. Cigarette smoking may be dangerous to your health. Well, that was the best thing that ever happened to the cigarette companies, because from that point on, the public was warned. You smoked after that point, you didn't have a case. So then the cases shifted over to addiction. I was addicted and could not quit. But those cases went on for years and years and years, and they fought each case individually. They wouldn't settle a case. And then finally somebody at the cigarette company said, let's certify a class action and we can eliminate all these thousands and hundreds of thousands of cases. And that's how the class actions came about, and each state received many millions of dollars. And that's the way they were able to continue their business. Now, for example, I'm thinking of the breast implants. Dow Corning was a very strong company, but there were so many breast implant cases with the silicone gel causing connective disease problems that finally they put a fund together, $3.5 billion, and then they went into bankruptcy and continued their operation after that. I'm still paying out on over 600 breast implant cases that we have, and these cases must be over 20 years old. But they're dribbling the last money out in the fund. Thank you very much. Good question, sir. Anything else? Okay, back there.
How can I find out the brand of a medical device used in a surgery?
All operations involving, say, a knee, a shoulder, a hip, any type of medical device that's used. The breast implants, for example. There's a identifying number, and it identifies the company that manufactured that product. And that is part of your medical records. Now, years ago, some doctors were a little sloppy about putting those in the medical records, and that's where I've had problems with some of the breast implant cases because the doctor didn't put in it was a Dow Corning product. And I had a lot of problems. We took affidavits, we took a deposition from the doctor, and we got these people their money, but it was difficult. But today, they have to put in the manufacturer of the product, the number of the product, and so you know if you get your medical records, you're going to know exactly what type of device, who manufactured it, date of manufacturer, and it has its own particular serial number. Good question. Anybody else on? Yes, sir.
What should I do if a recall has been issued for a medical device that I have?
Contact the Janssen Law Center. Well, you know, there's many times recalls on products, and they can be like a detergent, for example, a recall on a detergent or a recall on a baby bed, you know. Most generally, if there is not harm caused, what you'd like to do is you'd like to get your money back and maybe compensate it slightly. You're not asking for a lot of money because you haven't been harmed. But if you have a baby and it's a baby bed it's prone to cause death to a child who can get his head through the slats on the side of the bed, you want to get rid of that bed and get another one. So we assist free of charge, people calling our office. We've got a product that we heard was recalled. Can you help us take care of this? We contact free of charge the company and try to get it straightened out for you. Thank you, sir. You know, the byproduct of these product liability cases we're talking about is safety. And we're proud at the Janssen Law Center for promoting safety for over 40 years. Before I want to conclude this episode with regard to products liability, I want to mention the Janssen Law Center each year provides a $40,000 scholarship to Bradley University. Senior high school students can enter the George Armstrong, it's a oration contest, and if they're first, second, or third, they share that $40,000 prize. I think we're very proud that we've been able to do that through the years, and we're going to continue that 30, 40-year tradition of granting scholarships to high school students to Bradley University.
Jay Janssen. One name says it all.
Jay Janssen is one of the most preeminent and successful lawyers in the United States, building his practice on integrity, tenacity, and protecting the rights of innocent accident victims. Jay Janssen, one name really does say it all.
The lawyer you hire today can make a big difference in your life tomorrow.
One name says it all.